Kitco Mining special coverage of the Mining Investment Event of the North is brought to you by EMX Royalty Corp.
Canada is a more important gold jurisdiction than you know. Doug Silver is going to tell us about it. Doug, welcome to Kitco.
Hello.
Doug, you know a lot about mining. I just want to go over your details here because it's quite a bio. You're an inductee to the National Mining Hall of Fame. You've been an explorationist, mineral economist, financier, and your IRC was acquired by Royal Gold in 2010 for $745 million.
Yes, and change.
So you've seen a lot of, you had a great presentation here at Quebec City at the Mining Investment Event of the North. Tell us why Canada is so important for gold.
You know, I put this presentation together over the period of about 6 months, and it was just amazing how many different aspects I could look at the Canadian mining industry relative to other countries, and it was always number one. I mean, it has the most deposits, it has the most companies, it's got fantastic stock exchange, great regulators, good democracy. And gold seems to be the most popular metal in Canada and everywhere else in the world.
Interesting when you're talking about the metal mix. Now you're talking that there's some countries that have predominance in terms of one particular metal, whereas Canada, it seems to have a diversity of metals. It seems to be mostly gold. And you say that's good. Why?
Well, yeah, I mean, investors are always looking for variety, for portfolio management. And because of the Canadian geology is so different depending on which province you're in, you get different types of mineral deposits. And this is why when you're on the West Coast, these giant porphyry copper deposits, you get in Ontario and Quebec, you have these great gold deposits, there's diamond deposits. The variety of geology, I think the variety of geology in Canada is underappreciated, but it leads to many different types of deposits. And that's good because you don't want to have your industry only focused on one commodity. If that commodity goes south, people lose their jobs. If you have multiple commodities, there's always job opportunities, tax revenues, and all the rest.
And then obviously with the cycles as well too, when we get into green metals and what is actually happening, because this is always cyclical as well. Yeah. Interesting within your presentation is one of the top bullet points you led with was that democracy index for Canada. So how come that's so important? Why was that at the top?
Well, democracies, good democracies. Good democracies. We'll leave the U.S. out of this. Good democracies have a couple attributes. One is, it's a government of the people for the people. So it's not a dictatorship or centralized government like the communist countries. But that also leads to better laws, tighter laws, better transparency, better professional standards. And again, we were talking about this morning between the SimVal code and the NI 43101. These documents are incredibly important to the whole world of mining, not just Canada. And part of it is because Canada is a really strong democracy.
That was interesting. You're talking about the exportation of these types of mining regulations, these mining laws to the rest of the world.
Yeah, just think about it. You're a public Canadian company, and you're in Canada, you follow all the Canadian laws, and then you go to a third, a lesser developed economy where they don't have any of these laws, particularly environmental laws. Are you going to behave differently? Of course not. Your shareholders would crucify you if you did that. So they naturally want to be consistent across all their properties. And so if they're in a lesser developed country, they will bring Canadian practices to that country. And if they do a good job, those practices will spread in that country, which in turn makes those countries more transparent and better professionally.
I want to go to your industry experience. I want to talk about royalty companies. Royalty companies have been doing well, or I guess you could say relatively well to the rest of the market. What you're talking to when you're talking to the CEOs, they say, look, we're in a particularly good environment because we're protected from inflation, because we just don't have those costs. Is this a place where royalty companies work, or is it another type of situation where they work?
So in 2009, 2010, when the markets collapsed, a lot of the traditional conservative banks got out of mine finance. And what happened is private equity firms and the royalty companies stepped up to fill that void. And because of the massive size of these companies these days, they have tremendous financial firepower. So they have actually, it'd be interesting to see how many of them are usurping what used to be brokers' work, because they have so much money that they can invest in there. And so, yes, as a hedge of inflation, people go to gold. Most of these are precious metal royalty companies, but they also have so much cash flow that they're in the position where they can invest that and serve that financing need.
Financing picture must be really tough right now for juniors.
Yeah, it's very. I'm chairman of Chicana Copper. It took us 5 months to raise money, where 10 years ago it would take us 2 weeks. It's been very tough for us.
If you're a retail investor, this is something you're paying attention to. How much financial do you have right now? You're not raising money, correct?
Yeah, well, you should, but I mean, a lot of the stocks have been so beat up that it's, if you like the company and you do your homework on the management and everything, it's actually a great time to buy because you're getting it on a big dip.
Is there a difference right now with they would say like the precious metal side as versus like the green metal side? Are they seeing that it's going to be kind of easier to finance?
Green metals are currently the fad du jour. They're getting a lot of attention. And like everything in the mining industry, the minute they have something new that everybody's interested, then everybody piles in and makes their project a green project. There's a lot of, this whole green economy is a talk unto itself that it's not really that green. But yeah, the lithium companies and the nickel companies are getting more attention than the traditional companies because of the green metal revolution. Gold is always in there, particularly, gold loves misery. And, we have a great time right now with everything being so miserable between U.S. politics and inflation and all this stuff that gold is going to do well. So I'm sure people are buying gold accordingly.
You had an interesting take on the labor woes that miners are having right now. Difficulty in terms of actually attracting a talent. It's not so much the intake, but it's actually the outtake right now.
Yeah, I mean, there was an article that came out a couple of weeks ago saying that the mining industry was 10,000 people short. And the bottom line is if you don't have talent to build mines, you're not going to build them, or you're going to build them poorly and they're going to fail, which ends up with the same result, which is you have no new supply of metal. And what the companies need to do is, many of the largest companies do support education, but they need to do a lot more because we have this huge labor gap and they need to fill it. And the reason for that is because the baby boomers, which is the largest slug of human population, the baby boomers are all retiring right now. And that's what's caused this dearth in labor. And the only way to fill it is we need to get a lot more students through the schools a lot faster, and financial support is a very easy way to achieve that.
Doug, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
He's Doug Silver. My name is Michael McRae here at the Mining Event of the North here in Quebec City.
Kitco Mining's special coverage of the Mining Investment Event of the North is brought to you by EMX Royalty Corp.